Good afternoon. Um, I'm actually a little bit lucky that I'm competing with the likes of Madhavan, Sachin Kalbag, and Gautam John in the other room, and I thought I'll have it easy, but still think some of you have made the choice and have chosen to be here, so I hope I live up to your expectations. Um, for those of you on Twitter, I'm at Gautam Ghosh, same spelling. Um, what I want to basically share is social recruiting is kind of the way where social media marketing was 3 years ago. HR folks are starting to experiment with social, especially in external facing areas, and trying to do some recruitment related stuff around it. My presentation is essentially talking about why it won't work in the long term and what organizations can do to stop, to help it scale up. So what is the state of social recruitment today? And this is one of my pet favorite topics, the role online communities play, especially communities of practice, talent communities. Discussing as to how organizations, whether it's the HR team, social team, marketing team, digital marketing, it doesn't matter, how can they start building talent communities? And, well, the last one, measure your efforts, I won't go into because that was taken up in quite a depth by the previous panel in the in the Royal Room. So before we kind of start, most of us realize the way work has changed, and especially if you're like entered into the workforce 10 years ago. But for those of us who have been in the workforce for more than that time, work has gone from being task-oriented, needing generalist skills, having a predictable 9 to 5 workload, working alone, and working at a certain place and time, to we now, all of us working in complex knowledge work. We work in teams where what we are accountable for and what we are held responsible for are totally different things sometimes. Work is collaborative. I cannot do something until it's been done, added value by some other team members or people outside my team also. Work is a lot more technical, and it's time pressured. Everything needs to get done yesterday. And increasingly, it's a lot more mobile, a lot more virtual. People with smartphones answer email late at night. People with Blackberries do not have work-life balance. A lot of people are saying, should there be a concept of work-life balance itself, or should we be looking at something called work-life integration? But those are topics for some other presentation. But essentially, work has shifted. And of course, the kind of talent people need, organizations need, is also changing. So perennially, irrespective of what is the labor market situation, if you ask a recruiter or an organization, there's a talent market crisis. So I'm not sure if you can see the cartoon at the back, but essentially it says, some person dressed up as Superman actually says, if we reverse and go back in time, maybe there won't be a talent crisis anymore. And somebody's saying, reversing the Earth's rotation to go back in time can't be your answer to every talent issue, Hendricks. But what is happening on social recruiting per se? So currently, if you see, and these are screenshots from my LinkedIn stream and my Twitter stream. So somebody called Kalpana Singh, whom I don't know, has posted an update saying she's looking for these technical skill sets in a certain person, and Mirza, who's a connection of mine on LinkedIn, has liked it. By liking it, that update shows up on my timeline. And please remember, this is not a paid jobs feature on LinkedIn. This is just an update. So recruiters are actually subverting LinkedIn's paid updates, paid job postings by using the network effect of the status update by people commenting and liking it, turning up on the extended networks. So I get to see an update like this. The second screenshot is a friend of mine, Adil Bandukwala. Adil is a recruiter at Dell. And he basically says Dell is hiring business systems advisor in Noida with so many years experience. And he shares a link to the job description which leads to the Dell careers site where people can apply. And this can get retweeted by 5 people so that Adil's Twitter following of 800 people potentially, after getting retweeted 5 times, this can reach out to more than 10,000, 20,000 people. So these are what I call recruiting rock stars, people with personal networks and who leverage their friends' networks to pass the word around on LinkedIn and Twitter and also on Facebook of openings that they're working on. Apart from this, there's a company talent community. So again, 2 screenshots. The first one is of Taco Bell Careers, US-based. It's got an app which essentially links back to events on campus recruiting, walk-in recruiting events that are happening, and links also replicates the whole careers page on Taco Bell onto Facebook. So you actually go and explore the whole careers page on Taco Bell without leaving Facebook. Then there's Wipro Careers, which is a Twitter account sharing information about what's happening at Wipro, trying to build conversation about so it's not just posting jobs, but also posting insights about the culture at Wipro, trying to understand who are these people who are following me and what do they hold dear when it comes to technology. So asking smartphone, tablet or laptop, what do you like? So trying to also build in conversation and not just broadcasting the jobs. And we've heard this in the context of marketing, holds true in the context of employment branding also. Currently, your employment brand is no longer your own. Your culture is the forerunner of your employment brand when it comes to social media. And to articulate this, I have this tweet of a friend of mine called Harmanjeet on Twitter. Harmanjeet once asked, how is it like working in XYZ BPO? So that's been edited out, and then asking people, anyone? So if I haven't worked in that BPO, what I will do is I will retweet it. And so this retweet potentially could have reached 20,000, 30,000 people. And if there's an ex-employee or a current employee, he can actually reach out to Harmanjeet and follow the conversation later on DM. So this is where employment branding conversations are getting formed around. So again, it doesn't matter if you put in a half-page ad at the Times Ascent. This is where the employment brand is getting shaped up. I'm not sure if any of you have searched for your organization when you're logged into Google. One of the things Google is likely to throw up is the Google Places listing for your organization if there exists. And so this is a search for Cisco. I was logged in. I was in Bangalore. I searched for Cisco and it threw up, well, Cisco's page is #1, but the second result is places called Cisco in Bangalore. And if you see, the first one says 29 Google reviews. And if you click on that, so there are employees who have actually, and I made this presentation to the Cisco HR team, they had no idea their employees were rating them on Google Places. And so there's a star rating and people can actually go down and say, hey, somebody is very proud and saying, my office with a smiley, and somebody's actually uploaded pictures. So your employees are now actually shaping the brand when somebody searches on Google for your organization, because this is, and I'm not sure whether you've heard of this firm called Glassdoor, Glassdoor.com. Glassdoor.com allows people to anonymously rate organizations, US-centric, but a lot of Indian organizations, especially IT services organizations in which a lot of their employees are in the US, are getting visibility there. And Glassdoor can actually, so Google Places is just the superficial rating out of 5 and some comments and a photograph. Glassdoor actually asks people questions around work environment, culture, learning, career development, salaries. So on Glassdoor, if you go and click, you can find out what a certain type of job pays for in that organization. So people actually do pre-employment screening of organizations by going to Glassdoor.com. And, well, we've heard of the Fortune most admired companies to work for. Last 2 years, Glassdoor has been giving out most admired employers to work for based on Glassdoor ratings by alumni and employees. So they're competing with Fortune because they have crowdsourced data from employees and alumni of these organizations. So the problem with recruiting, and this is where I think social recruiting will hit a problem of scaling, is, so if you see, there are two kinds of people interested in joining an organization, and there are people with skills that the organization wants. In the Web 1.0 world, when it came to the job sites, what they did was people interested would spam an organization by saying, and it became very easy. You search for a certain kind of job, Naukri throws up 100 results. You can do a click all and send out a resume to all the 100 jobs, irrespective of whether you meet their qualifications or not. And what do organizations do? Organizations find out people with skills, and then they spam with. So there's two-way spamming going on. People who want to join that organization are spamming the organization, and the recruiting team in the organization is spamming the people with the skills. Now, the problem is, if there's an overlap between these two groups, that's the sweet spot for recruiting. People already want to join you, and they have the skills. The problem is, these overlaps are not very high. How do you make yourself an attractive employer to that vast majority of people without whose skill you want but who are not interested to join you? And that is the problem my organization is trying to solve. One of the key facts that we believe that organizations will need to do is you'll need to bring in the organization's employees into the conversation. And the fact is, using platforms, you can actually develop the skill of people who are interested to join you but don't have the skills. How do you, so currently what's happening is large IT services firms are investing in large bricks and mortar training facilities to get people whom they select to a certain employable level. Can social learning actually help people develop skills before they join an organization, so that organizations don't have to really invest in the large brick and mortar second college after? So, and it gets crazy. For example, I was talking to somebody who's a friend on Twitter, and he says, you know, people do their BTech and engineering and come to our offices, and they get sent to the city where the whole training center is run, and they are told boys and girls separate and hostel shut down at 10 o'clock. And these are people who have actually done 4 years of engineering and then come again for another 3 months before they are actually employable. They are put into almost like a second second college. And that is, and the thing is, it's easy for large organizations to do it, but for the vast majority of organizations which are medium businesses, small businesses, it's not possible. So how do small, medium, not huge organizations leverage social to enable people who might want to join them develop the skills before they actually join? So we are experimenting with something called massively online open courses, which is bringing in content from various different sources to actually create a course that people can take for free. And we are actually working with our clients to help them say, hey, there is an alternate way of teaching people, and which is not really teaching, but people learning from each other and by content that's already out there on the web. Then the other part, people with skills, how do you interact with them so that they really become attracted to your organization? Again, so if it's so for example, most Indian IT firms, if you say, whom do you want to join? They'll say Google, Facebook. So how, and these are like the cream of recruiters. But if you are Wipro, if you are TCS, if you are Infosys, how do you convince a really talented engineer that you're also a great place to work? The problem is, in these large firms, there are various teams working on various different kind of technologies. And if I'm working on a very niche kind of technology, and the team is very small, the visibility of that team externally is not there. So we believe that organizations' employees, when they engage with people who have those skills in specific talent communities where the talent is actually the fulcrum on which the conversation happens, on the specific skill is the fulcrum on which the conversations happen, then people will actually say, I'm not joining this company, I'm joining this set of talented individuals to work along with them. It just happens to be in this large, almost monolithic company. So actually, how do you break the monolithic company culture to actually showcase specific teams that are exciting enough for talented people to join them? What do companies want? There are these superstar recruiters hiring on Twitter and Facebook, on LinkedIn, and there are these company talent communities. Companies, and I've been talking to organizations over the last 8 months, they want to know who follows them. Currently, except for certain apps on Twitter, most of the data is aggregated. But I want to know at an individual level, who are these people, what are their skills, where can I find them? Surprise, they don't want new resumes. Most Indian firms are struggling to deal with the resumes they are being given, and when as a social media recruiter, an internal team or an external team goes to them and says, you'll get more resumes, they'll say, hey, I don't want more resumes. I can't process the number of resumes that I've already got. They want to filter talent by skills, location, education, experience. Open public social networks do not offer this specific functionality. They want to communicate with them. So a lot of, how do you initiate a conversation on a Facebook page? I still don't know. I manage 4 Facebook pages. People who like those pages can communicate, but if I want to reach out to a specific person and have a offline conversation, how do I find out what the talent is? How do I find out where the location is? How do I have a one-on-one conversation? More than that, organizations already have talent databases and data from their applicant tracking system. They want an integrated talent community which has new people coming in, but also, because these databases are actually almost dead. Nobody really uses them except, I mean, once in a while a recruiter would actually send out a email to some people. But most of the time, in 6 months, this data is irrelevant. People change jobs, people are no longer in the reachable at the same email ID. So how do you make these databases come alive? And there are people visiting the careers website, seeing there are no roles for them, and then never coming back. How do you capture the lead of the people coming into the career website? When it comes to online communities, I thought this would be irrelevant because somebody would have talked about how to actually manage talent communities and online communities, but since it hasn't been, I'm just kind of taking the lead. An online community is a group of people with similar goals or interests that connect and exchange information using web tools. An online community is different from a social network. I have a social graph, that's Facebook calls it, or I have a Twitter network, and I am a member of, but that is one network. However, I have various different interests, and I participate in various online communities which are built around those interests. And a lot of them is around work, around skills, around practices. So, and this is an old usage called communities of practice. 3 distinguishing points: how a community is different from a network. It connects organization, professionals, skills with all stakeholders and groups, connects members to other members, and enables discovery of members that you're not connected to. In the modern world, they are the new meeting places for digital citizens across the globe. They form the backbone of modern support systems, so it could be so I've been a member of knowledge management communities worldwide and training communities worldwide. The technology has changed from Yahoo groups to bulletin boards to now groups on Facebook and LinkedIn. But the core purpose of here is a question I have. I want to learn more about this skill or talent, and somebody from across the world reaches out and says, this is where you can find out more about this, or here is the answer to what you're looking for. These are also places where perceptions are formed, vetted, and cemented. What talent communities can enable, and more organizations are veering around to saying, hey, how can we enable a talent community to take place and therefore reap the benefits of that talent community? They can enable true employer branding by segmenting, sharing, listening, and testing alignment. You actually reach out to a broader talent ecosystem, not just employees or prospective employees, but also people who would be potential partners, potential resellers, extended, in the case of some industries, agents who do your actual work of actually selling what you're offering. Discover talent often otherwise overlooked. Probably what George Anders says in his book, The Rare Find, people with the jagged resumes, people who would normally not get considered because they haven't had an impeccable template kind of resume that you're looking for, but their genius comes out because this is the place where, for example, programmers share code that they are working on, and the thing is, it's not recruiters who have to engage in this talent community, because recruiters do not know about the job. It has to be subject matter experts from within the organization who probably are already engaging in this talent community. How do you enable them to refer great people back to you? You cultivate and grow future talent, and this is a topic I think most of the other sessions have touched upon on leveraging the army for your brand. I'll just kind of run through a basic, understand target members, define what you want your members to do, what kind of discussions, design a community that delivers value to all these members, set realistic expectations, whether it's about learning or about going forward, and also plan for internal change management, because you'll actually need to empower your employees who are actually going out and speaking at these, and be aware that you'll have to allocate resources like people, time, effort, probably dollars also to it. So talent communities are tough to grow, and they're like gardens. You've got to invest time, effort, and you need a great community manager who's a champion of transparency, designs for interaction, adds content which is thought-provoking to the rest of the community, and promotes diversity of thought and inclusion. So otherwise, what will happen is it follow the 1990 rule. Heard of the 1990 rule? One person creates content, 9 people comment or curate it, and 90% consume it. The problem is, unless the community manager has the skill of of getting or nudging the lurkers to also contribute, the community can get hijacked by the super content creators and become their agenda only. How do you build in rewards for desired member activity? Could be leaderboards, could be badges, and we heard Maiti from Experience Commerce talk about how do you connect these communities to offline events? How do you use saying, hey, Bangalore chapter members or Delhi chapter members, here's if this is Java community, let's meet and talk about Java over a cup of coffee. So how do you actually bring in the virtual element into the real world? And what's the commonality between members? And I think this is the biggest shift that organizations have to make, is to understand the talent community is not about the organization. It's about specific skill and talent groups. If there are no existing digital communities of practice, then creating a new one can get very difficult, because if there are people already willing to share and learn from each other online, they would have already formed a community. You can only shepherd it or give it a new place or invite them over. And of course, focusing solely on the technology is no. Creating the infrastructure and not really dedicating time and resources to managing it. You know what happens when you make a garden but don't weed out, add fertilizer, add water. And of course, going into a sales pitch or starting sharing jobs from the beginning rather than adding value to the members. Or you're locking them down too tight, making it impossible for them to export their data or to share content from your community into some other community that they're members of. And not designing for interaction. So I'm kind of running out of time. So I think these are kind of quite common to even other external social media points, so kind of won't really spend time on it. This is an interesting matrix my head of strategy thought about. If you look at the various components of your talent ecosystem, from alumni, employee, contractor, consultant, outsourced service provider, competitor, intern, aspiring employee, and other stakeholders. And there is a spectrum. They go from curious to applicant to hired to an ambassador. Then the only people who will answer to your superstar recruiters sharing on Twitter or LinkedIn is just one box, is the aspiring employee and who's curious about the organization. And you're actually leaving a potential of all these other talent ecosystem and their various points of their continuum, leaving them untouched. So how do you engage an employee who's newly hired? How do you engage a contractor who's an ambassador? How do you engage an outsourced service provider who is in the pipeline for you? So concentrating purely on social recruiting and broadcasting jobs, you're just addressing one part of that matrix.